Hello and welcome to Q3 2023 in review. My name is Melisa Galasso, and I'm excited to have you today on the Genuine Learning blog as we review what was issued, exposed, and other resources that various standard setters have issued for you so that you can use them as you move forward. This is probably one of my favorite things to do each quarter. We take a look back at the previous quarter and see what is out there that people need to be aware of. All right, so let's take a look at what FASB issued during the quarter. Thankfully, they're pretty niche standards. ASU 2023-03 and ASU 2023-04 are both SEC related items. So again, a very niche market that's going to be impacted there. And then ASU 2023-05. Now this one is really wonderful for private entities as well as public entities. It provides guidance on when you have the formation of a joint venture, right? When two entities create this joint venture, it provides guidance on what is the recognition and initial measurement for the items that are contributed to the joint venture. And so there's been diversity in practice around this joint venture information. And so FASB has settled that in ASU 2023-05. And on top of that, they do provide a private company expansion of the around identifiable intangibles, so that PCC alternative is expanded to these joint ventures that are private entities. So again, nice niche standard there, but impacting both public and private. And then last but not least, with respect to what the FASB has issued, they did update their conceptual framework around recognition and derecognition. We did cover that in a previous blog. So again, in terms of what's been issued, not too terrible this quarter. There was a proposal, and we've already talked about it on the Genuine Learning blog, which is disaggregation of income statement expenses. But as we spoke about, this only impacts public companies. So again, very narrow quarter from the FASB this period. So some periods it feels like there's just an endless supply of things that are being issued. This quarter was a pretty calm one for the FASB. However, they have done some additional resources that I want people to be aware of. They did issue their 2023 Investor Outreach Report. So if you are interested in that type of reporting, we did do a previous blog on that one as well. And then just as an FYI heads up, if you are interested, the FASB is going to be holding two roundtables to get public opinion. The first one will be held in Norwalk, Connecticut on November 10th. And this is their post-implementation review with respect to topic 606. Revenue from contracts with customers. So if you have feedback for the FASB, this is something you should definitely look into. They're also holding a second public roundtable on December 13th. And this is with respect to disaggregation of income statement expenses. Again, this is predominantly for public companies, but if you are interested, that's something that you can take a look at. So FASB, again, getting out quite a few resources as well this quarter or announcing upcoming roundtables. On the GASB side of the house, the GASB did issue their implementation guide for the year. This is a set of FAQs, questions and answers that can be very helpful in implementation of various standards. So definitely something to take a close look at. In particular, I'm a big fan of taking a look at the one around subscription-based IT arrangements. They also put out an exposure draft and a pretty narrow exposure draft around the disclosure and classification of certain capital assets. As we look at some of the right of use assets, in particular around leases and SPIDA, there was questions around how the disclosures applied to these more right of use assets. And so this is going to be providing more explicit guidance there. And on the FAF side of the house, they issued their 2022 annual report. Every year during the summer, they traditionally put this out there as a great way to take a look at what is going on at both the FASB and the GASB, as well as its parent organization, the FAF, the Financial Accounting Foundation. And so we did a previous blog on that one as well, if you want to learn a little bit more. In terms of the AICPA, they issued two interpretations this quarter, one around professional qualifications or competencies. That is what I like to fondly refer to as cheating on CPE. We did previously look at the exposure draft, but I will say that the final is a little bit broader. It did not focus just on CPE at the end of the day. It did include professional competencies as well. So other types of additional training, or maybe you're getting your master's degree, all kind of rolled in there. So very important to take a look at that, as it was effective upon issuance. The second one is fee ethics interpretation, fees. And this one focuses on fee dependency. Again, we had taken a look at previously the exposure draft, but now that it's been finalized, we have a little bit of a runway before that one is effective, but something that especially smaller firms should be taking a closer look at. The AICPA also issued an exposure draft around their SSAEs. These are your attestation standards impacting examinations, reviews, and agreed upon procedures, or AUPs. This is really just a process to get, sort of a organization compliant with the quality management standards. And so we already had SAS 146, SARS 26, and now this will be an SSAE to bring conformity from the quality management standards to the engagement level guidance. And so we were expecting that, not a surprise. And so that has been issued by the ASB. And then again, really wanting to focus on those resources. There have been a few resources that have come out of the AICPA recently that are really worth noting. The Quality Management Practice Aid, we kind of have been not so patiently waiting for that one to issue. And that one finally came out. There's two versions of it, one for sole practitioners and one for small to medium-sized firms. Kind of walks you through the objectives for quality management and how you implement that. So I know several of the people who serve on the committee that wrote that, and so highly recommend everyone take a look at that. And then the use of automated tools and techniques in the auditor's risk assessment. So really the use of technology, especially as we see more artificial intelligence and other types of machine learning being applied in the risk assessment, kind of giving some guidelines there on how to use technology efficiently, but also effectively. And then last but not least, they did an AR70, which is preparation of financial statements, decision tree, and flowchart. A lot of times people don't know when they're in the scope. And so that was designed to help people figure out, am I in the scope of AR70? So hopefully that'll be helpful for you guys as well. Last but definitely not least is the exposure draft, or not so much exposure draft, that came out in September, which was the OMB proposal around updating the uniform guidance. We knew this was coming, but interestingly enough, they put out a pre-publication version with a final exposure draft version to come later. So in that respect, definitely want to, it says very clearly on the pre-publication version that they can still make changes to it, but they wanted to get it out there. Comment letter won't start until, or the comment letter due date won't start until the until they issue the final version. But there is a change from $750,000 to $1 million in terms of the threshold that is proposed here. Many people wanted a much higher threshold, so I'm interested to see if maybe we get some feedback in exposure drafts on that. All right, I know that was a long one today, but there's so much that came out in the quarter that I just wanted everyone to be aware of. Obviously, the more power you have from knowledge. And so if you know it's out there, you know how to leverage these tools that we have been talking about. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today on the Genuine Learning blog, and I hope to see you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.